Hello, everyone. I'm Charlie Tyson. Welcome to the Tonight Show podcast for today, the 23rd of January. Lots of big news to talk about, including a return to the United States for a president and a trial involving the Southport murders. I'm joined by Late Party Sports Zach James Brad, all latest news. Hello, Zach.
Hello, Charlie. Hello, mate.
Right, time for the news now. I just want to say the last few days have been very interesting. In terms of the news regarding the Southport cover up. Well, not say cover up, but the Southport stabbings. I want to start with this, Zach. Axel Ruda-Cabana is going to be in jail for a very, very long time.
Yeah, absolutely. A very long time. In fact, probably most likely for the rest of his life. And hopefully he is for the rest of his life because of the actions that he caused. Today, this week, in a very big change of tune, on Monday when the trial started, he changed his plea from not guilty to guilty. And that meant the end of the trial very quickly, given that we had a guilty plea. The sentencing was today, and some of the stuff we heard today was very shocking, just awful, horrible, and insane. It was terrible, very upsetting and emotional for many of the families today. We know that Elise Stancon, BB King, and Alice De Silva were the three children that were stabbed in that attack by Axel Ruda-Cabana as well. He was obviously Axel was in court today. He was in court for a period, and then kicked off twice. Had to be removed, so the victims could not see the predator face to face up close today, to see him go down as well. So he got sentenced today because he changed his plea to guilty. He got sentenced to a minimum of 52 years in jail for the murder of the three young girls and a few others as well. Now, because he was under 18, he did not receive a full life sentence, although it's pretty much likely he's going to be behind bars for the rest of the life anyway, because of the amount of crimes that he's committed. But because he's under 18, he's not got a life order without parole, because legally they can't give him that. He's got instead 52 years until he then can apply for parole. But even again, I can't see them applying for that because of the action as well. The court heard today how when on 11:45 on the 29th of July, Axel Ruda-Cabana moved through the dance workshop and systemically stabbing young girls as they sat making friendship bracelets and singing along to Taylor Swift's music. He also described how Ruda-Cabana gloated about the attack and how he was escorted through Copy Lane police station after his arrest, saying he was glad the children were dead. Just take a moment to think about that he actually gloated that the children were dead. Honestly. They also played footage in the court today of Ruda-Cabana asking the driver to point into the address of the dance class. He got out without paying. The driver's dash cam also captured Ruda-Cabana walking up the stairs of the Heart Space building, which had 26 children.
This is Axel Ruda-Cabana in the back of a taxi just moments before murder.
And there's the video. Yeah, so he got out of the car there, and there he is. He's trying to get into the building. I don't know. I feel sorry for the taxi driver in this moment, because obviously he can't really do much. there. And then we see footage as well of him trying to get into a taxi. But then I believe what we see and understand the footage, the dad tries to get him away. And there's the footage of on the morning of the attack. He's at a bus station. I think he's then going to go on the phone and order a taxi. But I'm just shocked. Really, I'm shocked about the description of how proud he was to be doing this as well. Yeah, it's just the evidence we heard in court today was really upsetting. It's deeply upsetting, and 52 years. I think it's a long sentence. It's reasonable under standards. I know there's some of them are saying that it is unduly lenient, and that it should be referred to the Court of Appeal to see whether the sentence was unduly lenient. But I suppose there are arguments, and I agree. He should, if he was any other age, he should definitely be behind life without parole option. And I do. Some are calling for the death penalty, but I'm just not.
Solly Anderson and Rupert Lowe were.
Yeah, I just don't. I'm not going to bother reading the crap that have come out of politicians today, because there are certain politicians that have just let themselves down throughout the process, politicizing the whole thing. Making political tax out of it, doing undue speculation, opening their mouth whilst a live case was going, accusing everyone else of being a cover up. I'm just not. I can't be asked to read out politician statements on this incident today, because it's not. It's pathetic. It really is pathetic, Charlie, and I cannot be asked to read out all the utter rubbish that I've seen today. I'm going to read out the Prime Minister's statements today, which is actually the least political out of the lot of them, and actually gets to the realistic point. He said the thoughts of the entire nation with the families and everyone affected by the unimaginable horrors that unfold in Southport. No words will ever be able to capture the depths of pain. I want to say directly to the survivors' family and community of Southport, you are not alone. We stand with you in your grief. What happened in Southport was atrocity, and as the judge stated, the vile offender will likely never be released. After one of the most harrowing incidents in our country's history, we owe it to those innocent young girls and those affected to live the change that they deserve. And I agree. I can't be asked to read the statements of Kemi Badenoch, Farage, and others. Although I know David put out a statement. Let's see what he's put. His one's decent, actually. I know. He's put out here, Ed David put, as a father, I found it difficult to read the sickening detail of what happened in Southport that day, inflicting undeniable trauma on so many, taking 3 innocent lives, Alice, Bibi, and Elsie. I'm sure the parents across the country were hugging their children that bit tighter to see me. I cannot imagine the enduring pain their families are still going through. No punishment ever seen like enough. The government has an urgent duty to families in the country to learn the lessons from what happened today, ensure a tragedy scale can never happen again. Yeah, I agree. I agree. There are lessons to be learned. There is going to be a public inquiry in this, just been announced by the government this week, and I welcome that. So there's going to be a public inquiry because we need to learn lessons out of that. I'm not going to read the statements from Kemi Badenoch or anyone reform because I really can't be asked, because it's a bit disgraceful actually if I read out their statements. I don't want to make this politics out of this. But I'm afraid that some people had to. So I'm not going to bother to read their statements because they don't deserve my airtime, frankly, in my view.
That's all the latest there from the Axel Ruda-Cabana case. I'm sure lots of people have been following this very closely. And, yeah, not ideal. Moving on now to the news from America now. And Zach, he made a triumphant return on Monday, did Donald John Trump, of course. Probably one of the greatest political comebacks in history. Of the 4 years ago, did not attend Joe Biden's inauguration. However, though Biden was there, along with the former First Lady Jill. It's now Melania back as First Lady again. And Zach, the speech from Donald Trump was a huge speech, highlighting about, obviously, 4 years of the Biden administration, talking about other stuff as well, uniting America, making America great again, And also as well, he was signing executive orders for policies as well, including withdrawing the US from the World Health Organization as well, and also happens to be dancing to the YMCA again as well. What did you make of the inauguration day on Monday and the news gone by since he's been sworn in as president?
Yeah, it's finally got to that week where Donald Trump triumphantly returns to the White House and takes charge of America again. Now, I just want to give you some executive orders he signed this evening, actually. One fascinating one I have to say that he has signed. He's ordered the release of the JFK, RFK, and the MLK assassination files this evening, which are actually, it's not actually a bad idea. I actually support that sort of thing. And actually,
Sorry, we're having some technical difficulties. I apologise, guys, on
He-
Zach's end.
to see what actually happened.
Yeah.
Quite frankly, with what he did, so that he did executive orders on the border, on action involving declaring a national emergency, renaming the Gulf of Mexico the Gulf of America. I mean, I don't know if that's legally doable on that front as well. He then had he signed loads of executive orders in front of his crowd at a rally, then signed more executive orders in the White House. There's other stuff like he signed such as women diversity programs, revoking President Biden's executive orders as well. I think he signed 200 executive orders overall. He also signed executive orders for the January 6th rioters, which I think is disgraceful, quite frankly. But then again, I don't think Joe Biden was any better pardoning his family either. So, but I'm not comparing the two because I think President Biden's pardoning his family wasn't really a sign of integrity when he said he wasn't going to do it originally. But the pardoning of actual criminals, including seditious conspiracy theorists, people who committed seditious conspiracy, and those who, the biggest perpetrators, that actually been let free, I think is really a bad sign, given the fact that Republicans boast about there being the party that backs the blue. Well, it doesn't feel like a party that backs the blue overall. But yeah, lots of executive orders on AI, crypto. There has been investments going to be pumped in from AI companies as well. I mean, that's good development, actually. I don't mind the AI stuff. I think that's really important. But yeah, there's a lot of stuff in immigration. Looks like there are immigration raids going on in big cities at the moment. Obviously, one of the key part of Trump's pledges. Some of the diversity programs have been removed as well. Yeah. There's a lot of stuff in there as well. There is lots, so I'm going to try and go through some of them if I can. So he also, yes, he mentioned as well, he also signed executive orders to get rid of the WHO and the Paris Climate Accord. I mean, getting out the Paris Climate Accord is a really bad idea, personally. He also signed executive orders on ending birthright citizenship, although that is likely going to go to the courts, because that's definitely against the US Constitution as well. It is protected by the 14th Amendment, and it's going to bring legal challenges as well. He revoked the electric vehicles targets as well, reclassifying federal employees so that they're easier to fire as well. Creating a policy recognizing only two genders, pausing the TikTok ban, although he's open to, unpausing it if possible. Pardons for January 6th, withdrawing the Paris Agreement as well. And he's also signed executive orders on AI today. I think they created a working group, and crypto and the JFK files, and as well. He's also there's also been confirmations of some of his cabinet members. I know John Ratcliffe has been confirmed today. Pete Hegseth is going to be confirmed by the looks of it, even though there's 2 Republicans that are opposing him for Defense Secretary. Marco Rubio has been confirmed by 99 votes to 0. So it looks like got a near perfect vote, which I suppose, for the sake of, is a good to see bipartisanship as well. There will be votes. I know there's hearings next week for Tulsi Gabbard, which is going to be very controversial as well. And John Radcliffe, the CI director, Hegseth, is going to be advancing so far through the process as well. He's got his agenda going, apart from a few weird fights, including complaints about the Panama Bay as well, and threatening companies with tariffs and all that sort of thing. It's very typical Donald Trump as well in this one. So yeah, he's off to start the first week in office for Donald Trump.
Zach, I'm going to ask you, Elon Musk has been a huge part of the inauguration. What did you make to his wild speech the other day, including the salute he gave when he was addressing Trump supporters and the crowds at the White House? And the
I think whether he meant to like come across like a Nazi salute, I think the problem is the perception of it. No, he may have doing that might be his way of saying thank you. But the problem with, I think what he doesn't realize is made himself look like a Nazi supporter or a fan of a Nazi when he's doing that, something like that. I don't think the intention was to do a Nazi salute, but the problem with him is that he made it look like a Nazi salute. And yeah, he no wonder why there was a bit of an uproar about it. He got defended by Benjamin Netanyahu today, interestingly enough, the Israeli Prime Minister, who has his own problems so far. But yeah, I mean, it's quite telling that the likes of Elon Musk, Jeff Bezos, Mark Zuckerberg, and all the tech company CEOs got front row seats, and better seats actually than some of the senators did at the inauguration. Obviously, the inauguration was indoors rather than outdoors because of the freezing conditions. But I found it quite obvious that Trump is happy to pander to tech companies, and it feels more closer to them than he does sometimes with his own senators. The fact that the tech companies got front row seats and some of the Republican senators didn't, I think it shows you what he feels like he feels close to, and that's whatever you think about it. It's really interesting, and yeah, it makes you think there's a shadow operation of who's really running the White House. Is it Trump or is it like Elon Musk, for example? So yeah, I think it's one to watch out for. The power and influence of who's really running this White House will be really exposed over the coming months, I think.
Elon and Nigel certainly not having a great time at the moment, from what I understand as well, Zach. There's been some news about the fact that Elon Musk might be donating money to help get Tommy Robinson out of prison potentially.
Oh, I just think it's pathetic. Like, he's not going to come out of prison. He's obviously committed crimes. He's obviously held in contempt for reasons, and he just doesn't change. So it's a waste of money. And it tells you something when he's supporting a fascist and someone who's an extremist trying to get out of prison. So yeah, I don't think that's a really bad idea, and it's just going to backfire.
I think I have to be honest with you, okay? I don't know. It's like, I think as well, there is a massive rally on, I think, next week as well, from what I've read up on. I think it's another United Kingdom rally. So, yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how that gets on. Anyway, that is our main news. Plank of the week now. My one is going to be, well, I have to say, Manchester United and Tottenham both get the nominations this week for me. Tottenham especially, 3-0 down against Everton. Coming back to 3-2, but a disastrous showing from Spurs, I thought. last week. Just terrible. I mean, what the hell against Everton? I mean, I don't really follow football very much, but I know my uncle, his name's Chris. He's a huge football fan, and obviously he's a regular listener of one of my shows. If you're watching tonight, I'm sure that you're probably not surprised by what happened the other week. But yes, I just have to say Tottenham were dreadful last week, especially in that first half when I watched the highlights back. Everton mullered them, absolutely mullered them. Couldn't get they completely. I don't know what happened. So many players are out injured. I heard the Premier League's had a massive amount of injuries lately for multiple teams. But yeah, Tottenham were dreadful last week, and in my opinion, the way is still there. If they lose again at Leicester at the weekend, more on that in a minute, then I think Ange could be heading out of Tottenham. And also Manchester United as well. Brighton beating them again. Another loss for them. And it was another disappointing, and especially their goalkeeper as well. What the hell is he doing? Oana. 4.7 out of 10 on a rating. Maybe he'd be better off sitting under one of them old. It's just terrible. He should be playing better than that. He sounds like Rob Green wearing red. I mean, that was crazy. Does anyone remember a goal that Rob Green let in during the World Cup in Johannesburg years ago? Okay, against the United States, he grabs the ball, goes in the net. Any of the listeners know that? Well, basically, he grabbed the ball, let go, and then a Brighton player decided, I'll set up a set piece and score it. It was dreadful. Honestly, what the hell are you doing, man, at that? It's just terrible. I mean, Zach, I have to say, Manchester United and Tottenham, we're going to come on to sports news in a minute. Both of them teams having dreadful performances last week, and particularly, Oana making it another error.
Yeah, Onara is a vulnerability sometimes in goalkeeping. 3-1 loss for Manchester United against Brighton. The other one, obviously, was 3-2 loss for Spurs against Everton. But yeah, there was some proper dreadful stuff going on last week as well. Overall, there was some quite, would you say, not surprising, then some surprising results overall this weekend as well. I mean, let's say Bournemouth had a good result against Newcastle, 4-1. Newcastle was on a quite a good winning run, and then that result came through. Bad for them. West Ham continued to struggle. 2-0 goals against Palace. Liverpool got 2 in extra the last couple of minutes to win at Brentford. Leicester struggling again, continue their really bad struggles at the moment. No wins. Just one win in the last a couple of overall matches. Lost 2-0 to Fulham. Arsenal ended up again struggling to get past Aston Villa 2-2. Really costly for them in terms of the fight for the Premier League title race. It's given it to Wade now. Nottingham Forest 3-2. Nottingham Forest continue their extraordinary run of games overall. They've just done so well this season. As I mentioned, Everton 3-2. I mean, Everton Tottenham's first half was shocking. They were better in the second half, but their first half was literally shocking overall. We know that Man United lost against Brighton. United was shocking as well. Ipswich lost 6-0 to Manchester City, who've actually found some form. But I will come on to that, to the fact that it didn't last long. Chelsea 3-1 against Wolves. Again, good result for them. They've recovered from their bad run of form recently as well. Speaking of the form as well, and I just want to mention stuff that's happening in Europe this week. Let me go through the Champions League and let me go through the obvious results overall, because there were some mixed pictures in there. Aston Villa lost 1-0 to Monaco. That puts them in a bit of a more tricky position next week. Aston Villa, they're probably likely to go through to the 32 as well. But there was not the result they wanted, really. It could have been better. It was a bit disappointing overall. I'll come on to the Manchester United Rangers game in a minute, because I've just watched it, and there's been a development. Liverpool won 2-1, meaning they're through anyway, but they could well finish either first or second in the group, depending on what happens overall. But it's 2-1 Liverpool. I mean, they're going to be comfortable. They're either going to finish first or second, depending on what the results next week. Other developments: Arsenal 3-0 comfortably through into the last 8. Very much comfortable. And yeah, great result for them overall. And then we get to yesterday with PSG defeating Manchester City 4-2. Now, what that means is Manchester United City are in the bottom, below 24th. That means it stands at the moment they are going to be going out. If they need to win against Club Brugge next week to be able to certain. Celtic are through to the last 32. At least after they got through overall. So PSG have advanced. So PSG 4-2. Celtic have advanced the next stage regardless of the result next week. So that'll be a very big development for them. I'm really happy for them managed to get through to at least the next stage as well. So yeah, and let me go to the Europa League where there's been some major developments. I'm going to start off with Manchester United, the Rangers, because I'm watching this whilst we're speaking, and Rangers have just scored in just before the 90 minutes to draw up level with Manchester United. That's going to have a bit of implications for the table at the moment, and it's big implications at the moment because as it stands. At this rate, if we go to the live table, Manchester United and Rangers would both be out of the top 8. But now, instead of United staying in the top 8, they're both now going to be going out of the top 8 with all to play for in the final round of fixtures next week. So both sides are going to match day 8 as it is as well. And the other thing is Tottenham won today against Hoffenheim. Oh, very close though. They won 3. I think it was 3-2. But it was very close result for them. They're not guaranteed a top 8 finish overall so far. But if they manage to win their next match, which if I'm correct in saying, overall, let me go because all matches are playing at the same time next Thursday. They are playing. Where are we? I've got to find Spurs now on here. They are playing. IF Esbjerg next week, and if they win against them, that's significant because IF Esbjerg are currently in 20th. But if Tottenham win that, then they're probably going to go through. And there's been a goal, Charlie, on the in the Man United Rangers game. Man United have just scored and they've won. I think they've won it. Whoa, big developments there as well. Manchester United have just scored. 2-1 at Man United, and they remain in the top 8. Whoa, big development there. What a development. Oh, I mean, goodness, I'm trying to keep up with the permutations here, but they're going to stay in the top 8 as it is as well. And it's Bruno Fernandes who just scored the goal. But let me just remind you of the games next week, because all 18 games in the Champions League are starting at the same time next week on Wednesday. Next week, Man City have to win that one to stay in the Champions League in European football. Aston Villa has to win to have any chance to stay in the top 8. We know that Arsenal and Liverpool are going to be top 8 regardless of the result. Although Arsenal's one not necessarily safe, but they're probably going to go through on goal difference anyway. Alone, they've got 6 goal difference between them and the 9th position, so they'll be fine, I suspect as well. But Celtic can are through to last next stage regardless. But Manchester City have a fight on their hands to get through to the next stage to knockouts if they get to do anything well. They take on Club Brugge. It's Aston Villa v Celtic next week on Wednesday, by the way, as well. I should mention Liverpool got PSV, I think it is as well. As well, obviously, and so that's the 3 clubs that we're keeping an eye on: PSV, Liverpool, City, Bruges, and then Villa against Celtic against Villa, or Villa against Celtic as well next week. As
Max
well,
Verstappen will be watching that one closely. PSV, I'm sure.
lots of stuff happening next week, and everything's going to be decided on Wednesday and Thursday, with all 18 games kicking off at the same time those days.
It's going to be an interesting development, I'm sure. And Zach, I forgot to ask, what was your plank of the week this week?
Well, plank of the week with this is quite easy. It's the Southport murderer, Axel Rubikenko. Well, I've pronounced his name wrong already, but yeah, it's Axel Rudikabana is the plank of the week by a million miles for me. Yeah, he's the plank of the week.
Yeah, I mean, he's a complete utter. What he done was just a vile one. I'm sorry. You know, Dane it was crazy. I mean, murdering 3 girls last year or in Southport, horrible. Whilst I'm here, I'm going to play for you some video of Donald Trump. Actually, I've got the video off now. Anyway, I'm going to move on with the show. Speaking of sport, I want to stay on sport, Zach. The other week, WWE launching on Netflix. Some big names attended, Hulk Hogan, many other wrestlers. We've obviously got a pay-per-view next week as well. And I think the Royal Rumble's going to be on. Cody Rhodes is going to be in that in a huge belt match. I think John Cena's going to be taking part in one of his last ever Royal Rumbles. Netflix certainly has had a huge week of WWE coverage.
Yeah, absolutely. It's the first time we've had the first couple of weeks of WWE Raw as well, and there's been a few interesting storylines to mention as well, especially in SmackDown as well, and then obviously Raw run it. Let me start with Raw actually. Monday Night Raw, because I think there was a few things that happened this week. We had CM Punk jab at Hulk Hogan on WWE as well. Interesting enough, I don't know. See what that was about. Interesting enough, Drew McIntyre taking on Seth Rollins on that one, and Bayley squares off with Nia Jax as well. Yeah, interesting enough as well. Lynn became the inaugural Women's Intercontinental Champions last week as well. And there was appearances for who else did appear as well? I'm trying to think as well. Jay also made an appearance as well on the show. Yeah, and there's lots of stuff on that show, interestingly enough, as well. Kofi Kingston, Rey Mysterio on that show. Very interesting. Bayley against Nia Jax as well on that one. And obviously the Friday night was the SmackDown, which is happening tomorrow. We're going to have LA Knight taking on the Bloodlines, Tama Tonga as well on that show tomorrow night. That's obviously available on Netflix in the UK as well on that one. Motor City Machine Gun face off against Pretty Deadly as well. And we've also got Kit Wilson, Ilwin Price, Alex Shelley, and Chris Sabin also in action tomorrow as well.
Yeah, the wrestling's always fun. I think Raw's definitely going to be a big highlight on WWE as well. I mean, Raw's always the best one, I think, to watch. And Smack. Raw, if Raw can come over to London again, it'll be fantastic. Have it at the O2 again. I mean, man, get the crowds out, get your Cody Rhodes out, or your, CM Punk. I'd love to see a fight. I think John Cena probably will. It's his last year in the sport. I mean, will they make him win Royal Rumble? Will they make him win WrestleMania? Don't know. But yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how all this gets on. Obviously, yeah, WWE is available to watch on Mondays, of course, and maybe Friday as well on Netflix. For Raw, definitely is on. I don't know about SmackDown, but SmackDown is definitely on in America. I think it's on pay-per-view channels as well. You can buy it to obviously watch it. Moving on now to Formula One. Zach, I have Formula One news to bring. Right, this is going to get really interesting now. Okay, the first one is obviously Lewis Hamilton's testing with Ferrari the other day. The 7-time world champion did test at Fiorano the other day, along with Charles Leclerc, in a private test shakedown at the circuit as he got to grips with the car ahead of 2025, or in a sample car. And we also had as well the FIA announcing new rules around swearing, ex-fleet, of course, for the new season. They're calling that drivers may get harsh punishments after apparently Max Verstappen and I don't know if Charles Leclerc last year got punishments for swearing during the press conferences or radio messages and all that kind of stuff. And also as well, in some more news today as well, it has been learned that there has been and Aluni Bravi will join McLaren from Kick Sauber as well. And there's also been some news about Will Courtney as well. Red Bull don't want to let him off to McLaren anytime soon. So what's the latest development? The F1 development is certainly very interesting because there's a lot of interesting news stories over the last week that have really been quite interesting.
Yeah, there's two things I want to mention. Obviously, first of all, Lewis Hamilton's private test this week. I mean, it's the first time we get to see him in the red overalls of Ferrari and actually working with Ferrari for the first time this season. It's very, I have to say, it suits him. He looked very nice in it as well. It's very different colours, and it's not what we sort of know over the many years he's been at Mercedes, but it suited, and he clearly enjoyed the occasion. I mean, the crowd of Tifosi joining to watch him as well. There was a big attendance from that, and I have to say it's really good to see a massive attendance for such a big sort of, even if it's just a private test for Lewis Hamilton. It's the first time that people get to see him in a Ferrari car, and it's really important. So yeah, I think he's obviously really enjoyed it, and he loved the experience as well. And I think it's really important to see him in there as well. Obviously, Charles Leclerc was there as well, obviously doing another private test with Ferrari as this weekend as well, driving around the car and get some laps in the Ferrari as well. The second thing I want to mention in the F1 news is sort of not as great news as well, but the FIA are back at it again with the changing of the guidance on misconduct as well. Now, the FIA have toughened the misconduct guidance. So that includes, would you believe it or not, the swearing punishment as well. Would you believe it or not, the swearing punishments. Something that upsets the drivers quite a lot and that sort of thing as well. The swearing punishments got tougher. So I believe the punishment now is for F1 specifically that a misconduct offence the first time is a £40,000 one. Then it gets a second one is an £80,000 euro fine and a suspended race ban, set of race bans or something. And then a third offence is a discretionary as well. It's a €120,000 fine and the application of a suspension of a race of races and possibility of championship points being deducted from your standards as well. I mean, come on. Obviously, we know that swearing comes under misconduct in the FIA's eye, and also the punishment also applies to any damages that cause harm, hurts to the FIA or anything like that as well, that put the FIA's reputation in jeopardy as well. I mean, come on. They're a bit over the top with these swearing stuff as well. They've kept going on and 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 on. And yeah, they're not stopping. They're basically, feeding the beast with these changes, and it's winding up a lot of people. And from my perspective, they're getting what they want, but I think it's a bit pathetic, really, if they keep on doing it as well.
Oh, I don't know what to say. I just don't know. I think it's just a joke, really. I mean, people say the FIA are corrupt. Some people just, I mean, look at what Qatar last year. Just a joke, the penalties, people getting damage on low tyres and stuff blowing up. They're not acting on debris. And let Lewis Hamilton and, Carlos Sainz got punches. They need to do better things, honestly. The sport is being shoveled down into cement with the FIA right now. I mean, is Ben Salim speaking to us tonight? Or is Mohammed Ben Salim actually doing anything? Not much. So yeah, that's what I'm going to say on that. Now, that's the end of that news now. Now it's time to move on and do Conversation Street tonight. A couple of things I want to mention about here as well. The first thing is, have you heard of this? I mean, I want you to meet a DJ who's been taking the world by storm on TikTok. You might know this guy's name, or you might not have never heard of him before. Ladies and gentlemen, I present to you a DJ who's been DJing in the capital at King's Cross, DJ AG Online. Apparently, this guy has been absolutely at it on social media. I mean, that is absolutely crazy. This guy here has been DJing on social media, on TikTok, with many people, including Craig David, and also Georgia Smith has also done a session here. And also, he's been trying to entertain Londoners past the iconic King's Cross station. This is him here, apparently DJing with some people or some Londoners dressed up in Heinz baked bean costumes. I mean, this is quite crazy. I mean, look at this. Like,
oh, I woke up feeling for something
that's actually
grand.
very.
I know it's something
Look at that. That is like actually really unique, isn't it?
Well, you know,
They're
And
really
this guy's put up.
the only
It's crazy. Look at that.
thing I can make. Sing the song, guys. I can't cook much, no. I can't cook
They're in
much,
Heinz
but I'll make you things on toast.
suits.
That is
Interestingly enough. I'm not sure what I'm sure it's been special here, apart from some Heinz suits and a woman singing with a DJ set. I'm not sure what's so special about that, but I guess it's nice to see it going viral.
Bloody, that's amazing. And there's more as well. I found that he's got loads of videos on his TikTok. I just want to go check. I'll see if you're watching tonight. DJ Live AG. I just want to say, DJ AG Online, if you're watching the show tonight, you are amazing at what you do. Trust me, you're entertaining these Londoners. He was even on ITV News the other night doing an interview. Look at all these videos. You got some more people here. Even Professor Green done it, and then this one with Craig was just amazing. Like, look at this, guys. Craig David literally turns up to the party. I mean, look at this. This is actually amazing.
For my Chris out of here, go something like rewind. I want the crowd say selector. Rewind.
Look at that. That's just,
Making moves, yeah, on the dance floor. Gotta groove on.
this is amazing, guys. I love this. I love this is amazing. I mean, Zach, what do you make of this? This is just for social media. This is actually just quite funny.
I mean, yeah, it's nice, but it's nothing like original or extraordinary. I mean, I suppose the thing I like about it is the camera, that you can see the fans in the back. I suppose the only good thing about it. But I suppose Craig David being Craig David. Yeah.
I mean, that I saw that the other day, and I was like, that is actually really sick. Like, that's amazing. Like, I'm discovering online how to entertain a crowd. Like, I mean, look at the technology as well for that. The fact that he's like using you can get these on Instagram and stuff. Like, you can use like a second filter camera. So you can get you can capture like the background of the audience. It's actually really clever. And I tell you what, these things are just amazing. They drive up like support on social media. Just drive up like, this is what I like to see. Social media. Like, I mean, is TikTok going to get banned in America? There is a question on that. I mean, I know there's been questions about TikTok potentially being banned in the States, from what I know. But this is amazing, guys. I love it. Honestly, this guy should get credit for what he does. I mean, he's an ordinary human being. I read up he gave up his job for doing something like this. I actually enjoyed that video the other day. Maybe imagine if Daniel Radcliffe was walking past the station dressed in his Harry Potter outfit. I think you'd probably give that more of a of a thumbs up. But yeah, I have to say, guys, definitely check this guy out. I think he's certainly someone I think who is very much interested in what he does. That is DJ AG Online. That is DJ AG Online there for you as well on the Tonight Show podcast. I have to say that was certainly amazing. I enjoyed that really much. Also as well, one other thing that I wanted to talk about right now, and okay, I'm going to go on to this. It's a bit of a personal story. The new Southend MP is planning to work alongside Sir David's family to help fight justice. Now, I want to talk about that because, you know, we need to protect MPs. MP security is essential. You know, we want MPs to feel safe. We obviously want everyone to feel safe when they go out. But I want to just mention this quickly, okay? According to this, David Burton Sampson, who is formerly the mayor of Basildon a couple of years ago when he served, and he's now a Labour Party MP for South and Western Leigh. He's revealed working closely at Amos family in the Home Office. Since being elected in July, Mr. David Burton Sampson has stood in communication with Lady Julia Amos to fight their justice and working closely with the Home Office and the Amos family to address their concerns on the tragic murder of Sir David Amos. He said progress has already been made, regular contact. He also said that Southend East and Rochford MP Bayo Albaya has said is also committed to securing answers from the anti-terrorism group prevents alleged failings. Mr. Albert said, unfortunately, this case was not dissimilar to David Amos' murder, who was present twice. This week, the Prime Minister is committed to reviewing to counter-extremist system, and the Home Secretary has tasked Sir David Anderson KC as a new independent Prevent Commissioner to programme the accounts. I mean, because you know, Sir David Amos obviously got stabbed a few years ago in Leigh-on-Sea. What do you make to the new or the current Southend West and Leigh MP, Sir David Burton Sampson, for raising this?
Yeah, I think it's good that he's raised this. Actually, really important. I think everything that needs to be done in David Amos's memory should be done. In inquiry and anything like that as well. I mean, raising for funds for the foundation would be great. And yeah, he's doing a good job of you know, continuing David Amos's memory of representing that constituency for so long, and yeah, trying to get the answers and trying to do good things in his support.
Yeah, it's certainly an interesting development. And that's the end there of Conversation Street this week. Now, I'm going to play for you a brand new song, guys. I think you probably know what this is going to be, but it is a song that I have been listening to non-stop quite a lot over the last week since it got released last Friday. This is a song by British singer-songwriter Craig David. And this one is a new song. And when you break down in your car, particularly a Range Rover, you might know exactly what to call up the breakdown services if you need help. Ladies and gentlemen, this is his newest song, SOS. We'll see you in a few minutes.
Think I got this whole thing wrong. Feel as if my ship is sinking. I did it way too hard to stay afloat. I always used to sail with caution. Now I'm way too deep for that. Since I met you, there ain't no option. Diving overboard, holding back. I'm sending out an SOS, SOS. I feel loving, now I realize. I'm sending out an SOS, an SOS. And I hope that you hear me tonight. Come and save me. here waiting for you. I'm right here waiting for you. I know you'll hold me when I'm falling. And I admit I'm falling fast. In your arms, I know where I belong. Never felt something like this so bad. I'm sending out an SOS, SOS. I feel love and now I realize I'm sending out an SOS, SOS. And I hope that you hear me tonight. Come and save me. I'm sending out an SOS for you. I'm sending out SOS, I'm sending out SOS for you. Won't you save me? I'm right here waiting for you. I'm right here waiting for you. Oh, yeah. I'm sending out an SOS, sending out an SOS for you. Sending out an SOS, sending out an SOS, sending out an SOS, SOS. I feel love and now I realize I'm sending out an SOS, SOS. And I hope that you hear me tonight. Come and save me. I'm sending out an SOS for you. I'm sending out SOS, I'm sending out SOS for you. Won't you save me? I'm right here waiting for.
That's the new song there by Craig David, released last Friday. SOS. Zach, what do you make to the newest release by Craig David? It sounds like a great summer tune.
Yeah, it's a bit far away for summer yet. We're a few months out, but yeah, it's kind of back to his traditional kind of modern pop songs rather than the folkly sort of trend hitting stuff that so yeah, it's okay. I think it's good, and sounds like your typical Craig David song.
Yeah, obviously everyone's going to know him for the original 7 Days and stuff like that. But look, everything's moved forward now, hasn't it? Well, music's changing. You know, Teddy Swims, Georgia Smith, you know, that's the kind of newer generation we're seeing now. This kind of new pop style R&B swing come in. So, you know, I really like the song, honestly. I think it's one of his best releases for ages, actually, I think. So, yeah, definitely. If you're going to be going to TS5 pool party shows this summer in Ibiza, definitely wait until you hear this song drop on the DJ set. Maybe the live performances. Obviously, I'm going to the O2 next month to watch Craig live for one of the final stop on these Commitment Tour concert at the O2. So wish me luck. It's going to be about 20,000 people there roughly, and you know I think there are still some tickets left. You can go online in the descriptions. To various internet sources, they'll be able to direct you there if any of the tickets are available, because of course we really do appreciate anyone, you know, booking tickets who wants to go out and explore the true reality of it all. And I think it's important to really go on with that. Now we're going to go with the papers now. A lot of papers this week. We're probably going to end up combining them because a lot of them are going with the Axel Rudy Cabana case. I just want to mention about
Give me
that.
2 seconds, Charlie. I'm just going to go downstairs and get a drink.
Developing story today. This is what we've seen for the 24th of January. Actually, the first one isn't to do with Axel Rudy Cabana. Daily Star goes, army of rodents invade homes to escape 100-mile-per-hour killer storm. There is a rat in the kitchen. What am I going to do? Ladies and gentlemen, that is not Remy from Ratatouille. I can confirm. He is not making Ratatouille dishes, even though he's got his chef hat on. Obviously, you know, rodents are a big thing. Obviously, workplaces have to have pest control checks done to make sure that they are not susceptible to rodent interference and not allowing rodents to come in. Every store has to have critical measures put in place for that as well. But there is a rat in the kitchen. What am I going to do? Well, I mean, yes, we are going to have a storm over the next tomorrow early in the morning. I can confirm to you that what the storm actually is going to be, according to one of the papers, it is actually going to be called. So there's been a couple more papers. Papers are continually releasing. As well, I think it's Storm Elowyn is what it's going to be called. Yeah, basically 100-mile-an-hour winds could hit parts of Northern Ireland. Just confirm, many residents there, 80, 90-mile winds. I think there's red warning places, yellow warnings as well. So I feel like this paper is really important. Now, this is where the link-ups are going to be for several of these papers tonight. All of these papers, the Daily Mail, the Daily Express, the Guardian, Metro, the Daily Telegraph, and the Independent all go in with the actual Rudy Cabana story, the Southport story. The Daily Mail goes for 52 years for Southport Killer. What you did was not only cruel, it was pure evil. It was the act of a coward. Mother of 7-year-old Eliza Dot captured nation's rage. The Daily Express goes, brave parents, little babe 6, Elise 7, and Alice 9 left with shattered souls by sadistic actions of a Southport killer, cruel and pure and evil, the act of coward. The Express going with that. The Guardian goes, Southport attacker jailed for the savage murder of 3 girls. The Metro goes for honour them. Daily Telegraph goes, we face a lifetime of Greece, he should face the same. Independent goes, give me for a reason you did. And obviously the only other real different headline is, of course, the Financial Times. Donald Trump demands OPEC cuts oil prices and central banks trim interest rates. Lower crude will end the Ukraine war. Borrowing will cost. To follow us, EU tech finds criticised. Obviously, Donald Trump did make an appearance the other day at the World Economic Forum in Davos, where he threatened the EU with tariffs on products if they didn't lower things. I have to say, I mean, look, very interesting developments here from what I've been hearing. Donald Trump clearly wanting Europe to do more. I mean, yeah, definitely. Addressing world leaders, he certainly wasn't very happy with the WEF on several fronts when he made that speech the other day. This is what he had to say. This is part of what Trump had to say the other day on the issue regarding Davos.
The lowest taxes of any nation on earth. We're bringing them down very substantially, even from the original Trump tax cuts. But if you don't make your product in America, which is your prerogative, then very simply you will have to pay a tariff, differing amounts, but a tariff which will direct hundreds of billions of dollars and even trillions of dollars into our treasury to strengthen our economy and pay down debt. Under the Trump administration, there will be no better place on earth to create jobs, build factories, or grow a company than right here in the good old USA. And it's also reported today in the papers that Saudi Arabia will be investing at least $600 billion in America, but I'll be asking the Crown Prince, who's a fantastic guy, to round it out to around $1 trillion. I think they'll do that because we've been very good to them. And I'm also going to ask Saudi Arabia and OPEC to bring down the cost of oil. You got to bring it down, which frankly, I'm surprised they didn't do before the election. That didn't show a lot of love by them not doing it. I was a little surprised by that. If the price came down, the Russia-Ukraine war would end immediately. Right now, the price is high enough that that war will continue. You got to bring down the oil price. You got to end that war. I'm also going to ask all NATO nations to increase defense spending to 5% of GDP, which is what it should have been years ago. it was only at 2%, and most nations didn't pay until I came along. I insisted that they pay, and they did, because the United States was really paying the difference at that time, and it was unfair to the United States.
That was Donald Trump there making that speech in Davos. Obviously, I think Zach's just gone somewhere at the moment. We're just waiting for him to come back. But I just want to say, it is clear to me that there are certainly but there's certainly some interesting things that I wanted to discuss really from the papers today. Lots of papers, most of them themed all on the Axel Rudakabana case. I just think it's important, to highlight important stuff when it comes to, in general, all this. I think it's important. Like, you've got to really understand how much these things cost. So yeah, that's all I'm going to say on that one. I think there is definitely something as well. So, yeah, Zach's back now. I want to say, I find it tonight quite easily with the Southport killings, really.
Yeah, it was interesting, wasn't it, Charlie? It's just all the Southport stuff. I mean, that's what's all on the papers tomorrow. It's just, yeah. Oh, I mean, that's all it is. And then there's the Financial Times. Trump's demands OPEC cuts oil prices. I mean, that's all it is, really. And I'm not really surprised. I've just had a quick look. Sorry, I've got my tea. That's why I was downstairs for quite a long while. But yeah, it's lots of papers involving the Southport stuff, and just my thoughts with the families, really. There's nothing really more to go over than just that, really.
Yeah, it's a pretty short newspaper review tonight. I before we go, and obviously before we go and finish the show up, Zach, I wanted to ask you this question before we finish. What are the most important things next week, over the next week or two, that are going to be important here in the UK politically for our leaders? Because there's been a lot of, obviously, we've had obviously part PMQs over the week as well. We had education, breakfast clubs being on there. What is expected Parliament will bring over the next week or so?
I think what you're going to see next week is possibly infrastructure announcements. Heathrow's kind of the spotlight. And I think as well what we're going to see next week is more how Trump is going to fit in all that sort of thing as well. But yeah, I think that's the two things we're going to probably see next week.
Yes, it's going to be an interesting next week to see how all of them are going to get on. And yes, I'm sure it's going to be very interesting. If you want to comment, obviously comment down below, guys, what you make to the show. We're obviously open to your comments. Very much appreciated. But that's it for the Tonight Show podcast live on YouTube. Me and Zach tonight. Thank you so much for watching. Take care, and we'll see you again next time for another edition of the show. Take care, everyone, and good night.